Okay, welcome to the briefing, everybody. We've got Councillor Naya online, and we have a full panel of presenters this morning. Start off by handing over to the Chief Executive, Jason Maris, to make any brief comments you'd like to make before we kick off.
No, not at all, Mr. Chair. I think we've got a couple of good presentations here to come up with, some questions and answers, and then following those two, we'll have an economic development lead update from the Economic Development Manager. We'll go from there.
Great,
Good.
thank you. Okay, well, first up, we've got Amanda Bennett going to talk to us about the Northland Regional Trails. Thank you, Amanda, and welcome.
Thank you. I don't actually have a presentation today, but I have chopped down a tree or two. However, I'm going to hand these out, but I'm going to take them back, all right? So that I'm saving the tree and I'm recycling. So you can't keep them, but I will hand some things out. Well, thank you very much for having me here today. And I just wanted to update you on where we're at with Northland Regional Trails. Now, you will remember I probably sat here a while ago in this red jacket with a helmet on my head, and I was blowing a whistle and I was telling everybody about what I foresee as, or we as Northland Regional Trails saw the opportunity for economic development in Northland and Kaipta. So I'm not going to go over that a lot today because I think everybody's pretty aware of what the background is on it, but I will just show you a few documents which I think is really important. And I'm going to hand out. So you'll all remember the Northland Walking and Cycling Strategy, which was created by Northland Council, Northland Inc, and all the councils, DOC, Waka Kotahi, and that was created in 2018. Great document, it's got some wonderful things in there. Following that, there was the Integrated Cycling and Implementation Plan, so feasibility studies with all the BCRs, the ratios, the GDP numbers, everything like that was all created in there. And we also have, of course, the Kaipara Walking and Cycling Strategy, which is also a good document, feeds off these, and it's a really good template for what you want to do working forward. So what I wanted to do today was just to give you an idea of where we've come to. So I'm not going to say too much about the actual Northland Regional Trails project, but I'm going to tell you about what we've actually been able to achieve. And I don't probably have enough for everybody, but do have, what's the wires, Amanda? I'll give you.
Thank you, you don't.
Run there. And if you guys could share over there. Now, I'd just like you to turn to from page 3. There's actually a map. So it's this one here. So this is a map from the New Zealand Cycle Trails website. And you can see very clearly, can you see that? I don't go back a bit, Craig. Yep. You can see very clearly. Next one, Jonathan. Yeah. There are very few trails in the Northland space, and you can see how many have actually been created all around New Zealand. Now, I would suggest that might have some bearing on the fact that Northland's walking and cycling elevation hasn't been as good as what it could have been. But the whole idea of Northland Regional Trails is we're going to put an end to that. So that's just the first piece I wanted to just highlight to you.
So the crimson are up and up, orange are proposed.
The crimson are the great rides right throughout New Zealand. So you'll see Twin Coast Cycle is a great ride up the top, yes, in crimson. The others are our either connecting rides, heartland rides. The Far North Cycleway is what the Tua Aotearoa do. The Kaipara Coast Cycleway is what they also do that too, the Tua Aotearoa. But you can see there's a massive space up there that isn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
A couple of blue ones are white water.
Correct.
Amanda, what are the numbers beside the name of each one? Is that?
That's a good question. I'm thinking the great rides. Oh no, because they've all got numbers.
Is it just? Is it?
Oh no, you know what it'll be? No, I think what it'll be is, so there's two things. There's great rides and the Heartland rides. The great rides are run by MB or Kanoa. The Heartland rides are run by NZTA, but they all of course come under the same umbrella. So I would say those numbers are allocated to when that became either a great ride or a Heartland ride.
It goes from north to south too, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be something.
Sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry. I will find out and I can let you know.
Yeah, there's a lot.
How many there are?
So Amanda, the orange, that's really largely the Tiarawa Trail, is it? Or,
Yes, it is. Yep, mostly that's it.
yeah,
The Tua Aotearoa you're talking about?
yeah,
Yeah. Yes, but yeah, we're very much missing a whole lot of links in amongst all of that.
Yeah.
What this project is all about. Now, I'd just like you to turn to page 30 in the document. And I'm just going to take you through. So on page 30 was a table and it says in the proposed regional walking and cycling projects. So I'm going to give you a high level overview of where we've got to with Northern Regional Trails, and then I'm going to talk about Kaipara. It will be, yes it is. I can send it to you. Oh, of course. No, really, sorry. But I can send it to him.
what we're looking at, Ash.
Apologies, Ash.
Well, I can't see
you
it.
read
If I can get the link, to
There's
what
no
is being
link,
talked
Ash,
about.
sorry.
Well, I went on the cycle track. So I mean, ideally it should have been sent to us. I mean, it's no point my being here if I can't see anything.
Well, if you've just joined the meeting last minute via a video link, we couldn't be prepared for that. So I'm sorry.
It's not last minute. It was told yesterday. Sorry, Mr. Larson, Chair.
Well, I've only just heard first thing this morning, so you'll just have to put up with what you've got available to you. I'm sorry.
But there would be, I mean, I'm not contesting it, but in future, it should be sent to everyone, whether they choose to come online or not, as a part of agenda. Thank you.
In this instance, there isn't a document that can be sent to you, so you'll just have to put up with what you've
Okay.
got today.
All right, thank you.
I can actually send the documents out afterwards anyway. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Amanda.
So I just wanted to just take you very briefly, because I know I've only got 30 minutes. I've got so much I could talk, but anyway. So if you look at this is what they decided in 2018 were the key points that they wanted to develop over the next how many years. And you'll see at the top of the page, we've got Pohiranga Tai. Of course, so the first one hasn't been done yet, but the second one has. So that's the 87 kilometres. The third one hasn't been done. Whangarei to Mangawai is one of the ones that we're looking at doing, and now for our 3 projects coming up, and that does actually touch point with Mangawhai and Kaipara. Whangarei to Tutukaka Coast has not been done yet, and that is a bit more of a long term. The Waitangi Kirikiri one, which is the next one down, is another project that we're going to be working on in this next 3 years. Kaihu Valley Trail, of course, that's our Kaipara one, has got 20 kilometres of it done, not the whole 40, but stage 2 is, I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment. The Dargaville to Maungataroto and then the Maungataroto to Mangawhai is also in our priority projects, and that will be a heartland ride. We're really keen to see that being done in the next 3 years. Then Tutukaka Coast up in the Bay of Islands, that hasn't been done yet. The Kauriko Cycleway is just on the road, so that's no problem. The Waiuku Coach Road is the other one that we're going to be looking at doing, which does affect Kaipara. And then, of course, we have the Kaipara Missing Link, which goes down to Potu and to the wharf at the end there. So that just gives you an idea of the projects that they looked at in 2018. And the 3 that we're going to be focusing on are extending Pohiranga Tai up the top, because it's critical that that gets extended, so we've got more stays up there. We are going to be looking at doing the stage 2 Kaihu Valley Trail, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to come and update you today. And we're also looking at connecting the Kaihu Valley Trail up the Waiuku O Coach Road, which is the second to last one on that table, over to Horeki. So it actually connects with the end of the Pohiranga Tai, the 87 kilometre trail up the top. Now, if you have a look at this map here, it gives you a little bit of an idea on that second page there. So we're looking, at this stage, we're going to be looking at pushing ourselves right out there to Waitangi Kirikiri. This is the Pohiranga Tai here. We're looking at coming down through where this light blue line is. So we're going over the Waimar Ranges and then coming through to meet with Donnelly's Crossing, and then Kaihu Valley Trail is coming down to Dargaville. You'll see the Dargaville, the brown line here is the Heartland Ride that we're looking at doing, and it will come all the way through to Mangawhai. So aspirational goals, obviously, but
Can I have a question, please, Mayor? Your blue one there, the Kaipara missing link.
yes,
Does that all just, that ties up with the main Aotearoa
it does.
trail?
Aotearoa,
It goes through Helensville, is that right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And that is, obviously, you know, we've got the wharf done at Potu now, which is fantastic. That's an opportunity there for us to have an entranceway coming in on that side of the Kaipara. The other thing that we're doing is talking to the Matakana Coast Trails Trust. So they're Matakana's down here somewhere. They have already built into their business plan to connect through to Mangawhai. So we're going to be talking to them about that. So the key here is we're going to have two entranceways. You could come in through Helensville or you could come in through Matakana and through Mangawhai, but then do the whole loop and come back around again and then out the other side. So that's the aspiration. We're hoping in the next 3 years that we will have some of these started. So the other thing I wanted to just talk to you about was the RIF funding. So the Regional Infrastructure Fund that's been out for probably over a month now. Now, initially we were looking at perhaps, well, we are going to put an expression of interest to the RIF fund on behalf of the whole region. And that will include, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Far North District Council and the Pahurangatai Trust, and they have agreed in principle that we'll put in a regional strategy. We met last week with the Whangarei District Council and the community groups that are working on the East Coast structure, and they have also agreed that we want to put in a regional expression of interest. And this afternoon we're meeting with KDC infrastructure and management, and with the hope that, you know, we'll get an indication from them that they would also like us to put in a regional expression of interest. Now, the reason we're doing that, I've actually been working quite closely with Joe Litton, who is the principal advisor for Kānoa in Northland, and what they're wanting us to do, basically they want to see regionally what's actually out there, what is actually in the pipeline. And so they are wanting us to actually put a strategy together on walking and cycling. So the link, so we know we've got all this documentation already. We don't need to create new documents. We just need to pull it together and put it to them. We know already that we are actually in the back of your document that you've got there. I think I've highlighted in a little orange tag here. In the visitor industry part of the Te Tai Tokore, our joint economic action plan. You'll see this is on page 19 at the very back. I think it's the bright orange tag.
Yep.
I think. So you'll see, like, there are 18, what would they call them? Projects. There are 18 projects on the second page. And so we've got first one, remaining sections of Pahurangatai. That's one of the things that we're doing. Implementation of the Far North Cycleway. That is the Northern Regional Trails project. We want to implement Kaipara District Cycleway and walkways as per the strategy. That's Kaihu Valley Trail. And also, where are we down further? Implement and expand Whangarei Cycleway and walkway projects. So all of the projects that we're looking at are already in this document. So we don't have to do anything as far as reinventing the wheel or trying to get things going. But with the RIF, sorry, just to go back to that, we know already, and it was in the paper last week, I think, that the first 100 million for grants is going to be going towards climate projects, right? So the RIF funding has allocated, so they're very much an equity loan project, and we know already that the equity loan is not our gig. We're not going to be able to pay anything back. So that's not really our gig. We were hoping that the $100 million every year for the next 3 years was actually going to be our gig, but we've now realised or found out that the first 100 million is actually going to be put into the climate project, which Shane Jones announced, I think it was just last week. However, what we do also know is they are seeking our input from a regional perspective about what it is that we're looking at doing, and we've had some really good feedback about the fact that if we can get a regional strategy put together and put in, there's a very good chance that there could be other funding coming up from other places. So Kānoa are quite keen to say, let's work with you on this. If we think that there are other areas that actually could come into it, then we will actually direct you into those areas. So that's really good news as far as we're concerned. So I don't know if there's any questions about the RIF side of things anyone would like to ask.
I do have a question just in terms of, I guess, priorities, Amanda. We've got the Kauri Coast Cycleway enhancement from, was it Rawini to Tani Mahuta?
Yeah,
But we've also got the blue line there, the Twin Coast, is it to down to Donnelly's Crossing?
yeah, so, yeah.
You're looking at doing, so that looks to me to be from, I'm not sure, I can't.
It goes from Horeki, so the Twin Coast cycle
Okay.
finishes at Horeki at the moment.
Yep.
And they are looking at the ferry, doing the ferry to Rawini.
Yep.
But what we've actually spent a lot of time in the last couple of months actually really scoping out how we can actually, because the thing is, we want to get runs on the board, right? We want to start. So the best way to get runs on the board is to get links going between the two, right? So previously, and there's been an awful lot of money spent by NZTA doing feasibility studies on using the Kauri Coast cycle, oh God, what do they call it? There's so many different names, isn't there? Into Omamari, Noni, and then through, and then across to Horeki, in that way round. But it's really, really expensive and out of our depth expensive at the moment. It might happen one day that we actually could have that connection going around, which will of course will include Tane Mahuta as you go through. But the thing is, if we can get the link going from Horeki, it'll come up State Highway 12, go up over the Waimar Ranges. It'll be very much a bit like a bike packing opportunity. It's not going to be like mums and kids are going to be doing. It's a grade 2 to 3 gradient. But it does provide a link from Horeki through to Dargaville once we've got the Valley Trail done, right? So at any point, so if you're at Donnelly's Crossing or you're at Kaihu, you could get a shuttle from there through to Tane Mahuta and do the experience from there, and then a shuttle on to...
That was going to be my point.
Yeah.
You know, given that money is always tight,
Yes.
it's hard, there is a duplication in base destinations there, and so which is going to have the priority. So I imagine for what you're saying, it'll be the extending it from Horeki to Donnelly's Crossing have the priority, and other ways of getting to Tani Mahuta, because obviously Tani Mahuta is, you can't get in there.
No, well, that's right. But I mean, DOCA, I met with DOC last week, that's all going ahead. So that's actually going to be starting, I think, by the end of this year. So that'll be a big thing for this link. Because I mean, obviously it's all about the experiences as you go around too. But the thing is, you know, if you've got to get out of the thought of, you know, are you going to cycle to there or are you going to cycle there? The shuttles will actually do a lot of work around that space, which is of course, you know, providing a business opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, we've got time too in Dargaville, and there are others up in Kaikohe that are already doing the shuttles. So it will just depend on how that works. So that's sort of what we're looking at as far as that goes. Gordon.
Would it be correct in saying that when we do a cycle trail on a state highway, there are a heck of a lot of road safety
Correct.
Complications, whereas the road, the light blue road over the ranges there, we haven't got that complication of vehicles travelling past them at 100k. So I say, and it'd be a lot cheaper to construct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're looking at, I can sort of give you a bit of an idea with regards to Kaipara now. So we know that Steve Willem, who is the engineer on Kaihu Valley Trail Stage 1, has done some scoping and some numbers for us. We know it's going to cost about $8 million to complete Kaihu Valley Trail Stage 2. The initial costing on that was 10 million. And remember, we got 4.5 million, and then we got 500,000 from Waka Kotahi to do the bridges. So, you know, it has gone up in price, but of course everything has. So that's just the way. So we're going to be looking at 8 million to complete that bit. That will go through it'll do the tighter bit in the middle, which we haven't finished yet, and it'll go from Kaihu Township up to Donnelly's Crossing. We know that the design and scoping of the next one from Donnelly's Crossing over the Waimar Ranges and then down to Horeki, that's going to be about 1 to 2 million to do that. A lot of that's on either KDC Paper Road, Dock Road, or paper roads on the other side with Far North District Council. So there's a crossing in the middle where it goes from KDC to FNDC. So we're talking to them about this as well. So there's going to have to be a bit of a joint sort of, you know, how do we look at doing this? But I also wanted to congratulate you all on actually putting the $2 million into the LTP for the Kaihu Valley Trail Stage 2 and 227. I really thank you for doing that, because that makes a massive difference when you're applying for funding. So at the moment, we know we've got, well, we'll say it's a line item, and I know there's never any guarantees, but having it as a line item is a massive thing when it comes to funding. So we've got 2 million from KDC, we've got 4 million from FNDC, and we got 1.5 million from Whangarei to put towards the East Coast, well, we're calling it the Bream Bay Trail from Marsden Point down to Mangawhai. So that's a reasonable chunk of money to be going to any sort of Crown application to say that we've got this co-funding from councils. As well as that, there's a lot of private enterprise that are putting money into people gifting roads or parts of their land, particularly through that Bream Bay, Hermpack, Hoppers, I know, Maritime Holdings are actually gifting land for that through there. That all comes into the equation as well as community hours. So there's a big package there that we think that I feel reasonably confident that we're in a good space to be able to do something with this. And if it doesn't happen right now, like when we first started, we thought the first 3 years is all about us doing the planning, because as you can imagine, trying to bring together all the different councils, all the different communities to actually understand that we've got to do this regionally to make it happen, because we've very much had that feedback from Crown now. Unless you're going to do something regionally, we don't really want to know about it. So it's really up to us to come together and try and do it from there. So.
Got a question from Councillor Nair.
Yes.
Thank you, Amanda. Sorry, I don't have the presentation, so I'm just relying on my poor hearing, and I hope I did right. So you mentioned that on the RIF, Regional Infrastructure Fund, Shane Jones mentioned that he would not be considering a certain thing, but he will be happy to consider your application under if we have a regional economic strategy. Is that right?
He is looking for regional economic strategies that are going to benefit the region, yes.
Yes. So do you have one, or do you have
Yes.
a time frame by which we will have it, the application to go?
Yes, we're working on that at the moment. So I think you're online, Ash, when at the beginning. I mean, we have so many reports. I've probably got 20 reports like these that have been done for all sorts of areas around Northland. We don't need to create another massive big business case. It's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have everything here. We've just got to pull it together. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So all I'm asking is, because all these projects have a timeline and the money is limited. So would you be able to send this application pretty soon?
Well, that's the interesting thing, Ash, actually, because when I spoke to Kānoa, I thought that at the beginning too, the first in, first served, but it is not like that anymore. What she's saying is we've got 3 years to put an application in. And okay, we know the first 100 million in grants is gone at the moment, but they will work with us to get a strategy together that is actually really robust and will work for us as far as the region goes. So there's no hurry as in, my gosh, we've got to get it in tomorrow. We want, as I say, I'm meeting with Kaipara this afternoon, and once we've got that and we have all the councils in principle say, we would like you to put an application in from a regional perspective, then I've got everything pretty much ready, and we will be putting an expression of interest in. And then it's up to them to come back to us and say, this is where we think this will fit, or this is where this could work, and then we work with them around that.
Paul,
Thank you.
you have some comment?
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll be talking about the Regional Infrastructure Fund later today. And also my suggestion is we've agreed we're going to connect anyway. And I suggest that it's great that Cody's here, because Cody's right in the middle of all this at the moment. So my suggestion would be, once you've got this ready to go, work with us in terms of just assisting you with your pitch into Kānoa.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Because we know what the thinking is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'd already sort of connected on that anyway. We didn't come up there, but yeah, so it is actually all starting to sort of come together really, really well, I believe, for us to look forward with confidence that we're in a good position to look at this. Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
if I may,
Howard?
Amanda, do I understand that there is one commercial operator, maybe more, but there's certainly one, Mike Sim,
Yes,
from, Oak.
experiences.
Yep.
Yep.
So using that as a base, that's the only one I know of. That's good. Do you know that that is operating, really successfully?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, no, he is. He's doing a really good job up there. So he's obviously a private operator. Sort of sits alongside and works with the Pohitinga Tide Twin Coast, so obviously using parts of that trail to bring people in and have the experience. So, I mean, we've talked, Mike and I, and, we will be working with him as we go forward too. But, there's opportunities for lots of operators to, there could be one out Mangawhai way here that starts to operate. So, and the other thing I just wanted to say we spoke to Grant McCullum last week, we met with him, and, around the whole RONS thing and the opportunity for possibility of Kaiwaka becoming the off-ramp. And they haven't made decisions on this yet, but we're just thinking out here, trying to get everybody trying to think about. So if Kaiwaka was the off-ramp, Kaiwaka would be the big trail town starting. But there's going to be, probably around 6 new trail towns in Kaipara alone. So each one of those towns where people will cycle through, and most of them are rural and low decile, will have a massive impact on their, so there's a really fantastic opportunity. I mean, I know from in this document here, in fact, it actually says it on page 2, and I think I've highlighted in blue. So it's a little red, this is a report done by Opus, so it's a feasibility/business case. But it says in here, the economic benefit to Northland for the fully developed Northland Cycle Trail network is 2 to 4% growth in GDP. We know at the moment, I think forestry is about 1.6 or something like that. So we know that this is going to have a massive positive implications for Kaipara and the north, which is fantastic.
Ask that question of you, Paul. For the council, we have our leader Lux standing up and saying we're fancy projects. And of course, a lot of people starting to look at stuff as fancy projects, which I see it as economically important. So, your role, or both your roles, I see as critical, showing the community the numbers to provide justification.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a PR exercise in terms of the council.
Oh, absolutely.
On what people think, that's a vanity project. Maybe seeking that funding elsewhere, of course, but supporting it from councils is important.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask you is, for example, the developer here is going to redevelop and tidy up that come to this track, right? And I think that was in the Opus report too, a number of years ago. How much input are we going to get from locals on planning the route that's going to come all the way through to here from Mangataroto? Obviously, there's different avenues to do that. And my ambition was always to see Gundoos go through under by Charlie's Bridge and go all the way up through the bush margins, and then take in the Tanakaha, the olive groves, the wineries. Then from there, you'd want it to carry on. So it would be a fantastic. Provide that people even partially do, and then come back and carry on, right? So.
Yeah. Well, I know at the moment, I mean, we are talking, because we're just trying to get costings of possibly coming from Mangataroto up Mountain Road, an underpass under the state highway, the other side of the Kaiwaka Road, going into Kaiwaka, then going up Gibbons Road, down Bald Rock, and then I think there's going to be some sort of road connection through to Cove Road, which connects with where you're thinking, I think, is that correct? And then into Mangawhai, and then from Mangawhai over and up through to Marsden Cove. So the thing is, it's the connecting things, but there's also has to be experiences for people to do outside of the connections. I mean, the Browns Road cycle, I think that's still going ahead. I don't know, I'm not sure. The Browns Road.
The area, like.
Yeah, so I mean, those sorts of things are crucial. We've got quite a few mountain bike parks from here to Marsden Cove, private ones being put up as well. So all of those other things like that, people want to do things outside of just getting on a bike. They want to go and visit the vineyards and they want to go and,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
You know, when I go down to the South Island, I've done a lot of the tracks myself, and you tend, if you're on unlimited time, you want to pick the best piece. You know, if you have time, you do the whole lot, but if you go, okay, that piece from Mung all the way through to the wineries and blah, 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 that's special, we want to pick that off.
yeah.
That's the sort of thing that I can see, because a lot of people won't do the whole lot, right?
No, oh, no, but I think there is
Pick up pieces.
yeah, they possibly, yeah, maybe, yeah, or there are the avid riders who will want to do the whole loop. So, you know, we've sort of thought about trying to market it as a pilgrimage, you know, like you do to the pilgrimage, they go to Spain and they do all those things. Northland is the only one that we know of in New Zealand and also in the Southern Hemisphere. We're thinking, I don't know if there are any others in the world where they do a loop around the region, like they come all the way back round. A lot of the trails are there and back, or there and back, but to have the loops, but we want to make it like a pilgrimage. So we see the big, that being quite, and that's a lot of nights staying in Northland, and so it's a lot of money coming in at the same time, so, yeah.
It would be unique being point to, you know, all the others being point to point. If I may, Mr Chair, one more question from me. And I go back to what Mr Mayor said about the Prime Minister's comments on what local government should be focusing on. So is there a risk to the whole project just in those comments and in the focus strategy, i.e., you know, talk about the $2 million investment we've already put aside. Now, we might individually, as the Mayor has said, see things as like this as a priority. In fact, I do, particularly over, you know, that Kaihu Trail. But if that's going to be out of the sphere of what is your bread and butter, how does that impact? You know?
Yeah, it's a good question, like, but I actually don't see it that way. And we've actually had a talk to, or we've talked to Grant McCullum, Simeon Brown, Shane Jones, and they are all of the opinion that this sort of product, we're going to call it, so if you don't think of it as being a walking and cycling, I think that's where people get a bit carried in their minds. They think, oh, walking and cycling, it's just a luxury. The Northland Regional Trails and the aspirational 700 kilometre link is a massive economic opportunity for Northland. I can't think of anything else that is going to get the towns together. You're going to have connections through rural, your isolation is going to be, you know, like I just can't think of anything else. And I know from their point of view, if they see this being an economic strategy, it's a whole different ballgame than just being talking about walking and cycling. And they've told us that. And the Kagula Kanoa has also said that that's the case. So we know we're sitting in a different pocket, and I think that we're in a really good space to actually have a really good crack at this with a really good strategy.
On that basis, I think that we're aligned, and Paul, you might have an additional comment on this. You know, we don't operate without having an economic development vision.
Of course.
But if I read literally what the Prime Minister is saying, is that maybe that is up for consideration.
I think it is all how it's actually put together and how and the speak and the language and the story behind it as well. So, you know, for Northland, economically, and you can see that map at the beginning. Yep. Now, the elevation of walking and cycling trails, or the lack of elevation and the connectivity of it, I think is stopping us from actually earning the GDP that we should be earning in that space. I mean, on TV the other night, I don't know if you saw West Coast, they have an amazing promotional, which I looked at that, I thought, oh, Northland Ding, I can't wait to come and get you guys going on this. They have, and they've been doing it for a few years now. Their GDP is at 12%, and that's all around their tourism.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity here to do that. Like we've got everything that they've got. We're just not elevating it enough. And the connection of being able to do this and actually putting together a strategy, everybody working together, it's a fantastic opportunity.
Well, I guess the last point I'd make, if I may, is that exactly, and totally agree with you, but what we've got to do is that be sure that our endeavours and our strategy in this area is not going to be compromised.
No.
In fact, you know, we get government to embrace
Yes.
what we're doing.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
I totally agree. You know, tourism is such a key element.
Yeah,
And it really is embracing on basic fundamentals
Yeah.
that we do as a council.
Councillor Naya, we're over time. Have you just have a quick question or a comment to make, have you, or?
Yeah, just a quick question and not a comment, Chair. Thank you for that. Amanda, I mean, would you, I mean, it's a good strategy, but would you describe us what is exactly the time or season or how many months in a year the cycling trails happen?
how many months of the year does it?
Well, it's not all year round.
Oh, well, actually, it can be in Northland. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about Northland. Our climate, our temperature. Yeah, okay, we have rainy days and we have flooding sometimes, all the same as everybody else, Ash. But the thing is, we actually have an opportunity where people could ride in Northland any day of the year.
Yep.
Any day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Hey, thanks very much.
So, yeah, I've just got a couple of things I'd like to leave with you. One is, it's a bit of an update I've done, and it's just got sample only because it's a drafty sort of type thing, but I really think and that's about the Kaipara District and the update. So that's a lot about what I've just talked about. And the other thing is I've just done up a very quick called Trail Truth. So we're going to get this done up in a nice graphic sort of thing, but it actually just tells you a whole lot of topics, a whole lot of points, stats, and I'd just like to leave those with you if that's okay. And Ash, I'll get a copy of those to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, but I will collect the folders because, you know, like, we don't want to spend any more money on reports than what we actually have to. So,
Thanks very much, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
Look forward to
No
my
worries.
copy on that one.
yeah, well, yeah.
Thank you, Amanda.
Really good document.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Congratulations.
I look forward to keeping in touch with you about how all this goes. Lots of action happening in the next little while.
Excellent.
For the opportunity.
Thank you for your enthusiasm.
We're lucky to have you
Oh,
driving this. It's amazing.
Come on your bike.
no, I didn't come on with that.
And we'll connect, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cody and Amy.
Paul Thompson, just wondering whether, feel free if you would like to, and it would suit you better to come and sit up at the table where, because if you've got anything to chip in as we go along or answer questions, then.
I'm going to read the,
Yeah, no. I was more than happy to have you sitting in company.
I think I'm talking to you now anyway.
Yeah,
You go forward.
here we go.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have Paul Linton going to
Come on and
give us an update.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Hello, Mayor. Hello, councillors. Hello, Ash. Nice to see you.
Hello, Paul.
And just Cody at the back there, in case again those who don't know, he's part of our team.
welcome.
Cody, if you've got any questions that come, maybe you can just note them down for us and we can take them away. That'd be fantastic. Right, Chair, fine.
Thank you.
All right, so what I thought I would do today is just give you a little bit of a snapshot of some of the things we've been doing over the last quarter, and a little bit more since we last met, because there's been a lot of activity. And I'm happy to take questions as we go through. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a couple of slides actually that you would have seen yesterday. Okay. Talk about the business innovation and growth area that we work on, because I don't feel we're perhaps explaining that as well as we could across the region. Everyone knows what we do in tourism and all that sort of stuff, but I also want to focus on that. I do want to focus a little bit on what we're doing in the tourism space. I'm just taking vignettes for you that I thought would be interesting. And then I'm going to talk about the Regional Infrastructure Fund. It's quite topical. But given this is a public meeting, I'm not putting up the list that we've been facilitating, because some of that's confidential, especially with private sector stuff. But I will talk about it and just give you our feedback. And like I said, Cody's in the middle of this as well. So you happy with that? No.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Really tight. Now can you see that? Okay. All right. I might stand up because I can read the screen a little bit better if I do that. Hopefully I'm not in your way, Ash.
He can't see you on camera anyway, so.
Okay. All right, so what we've got here is I want to talk about the business and innovation work that we do across all of North. And that's the team that's run by Piripi and it has Dave Templeton in it, DT, you might know, Andrea, and we also partner with Wharaki and Tikaranga to get into the Maori economy. And we've been pretty busy. So over the last, period, we've actually distributed nearly $250,000 to small businesses. Again, and just to be really clear, none of that is ratepayer money. It's central government money because we have a contract with MB to run the Regional Business Partner Network. We also are engaged with Callaghan Innovation. So we run the R&D service. So we go into companies and advise them not how to do their R&D, but how to get support R&D and develop new products. So we run all those services across the North and we're out talking to hundreds of small companies all the time. And so it's from Callaghan Innovation. We've distributed nearly $350,000 in grant funding to small businesses. Again, often that's on a co-funding basis. And I could tell you a lot about that over a beer since I used to be at Callaghan Innovation. Hand out that money, but basically it's if you wanted to build a new product and do R&D, there's money available. So we run the Callaghan Navigator.
Excuse me, Paul?
Yes.
So you're saying you've got into 50,000 businesses in the North?
I'm not saying that. Where's it?
So I'm trying to do the maths here from that first paragraph.
No, don't link the two. We've handed out that much money in total.
The maximum of 5,000 per business.
They're not all up to they're not all 5,000. There might be a couple of hundred for some. Right? And also they're co-funded.
Thank you.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just took that.
That is the limit that's available. And again, that's MB money. So for example of that, if you're a small business and DT and his team go into you and go, okay, I'm looking to grow my business, how might I do that? And they do an assessment of your business based on some key criteria in a template. And they go, okay, you need some marketing help, you need some finance help, you need some accounting, R&D or whatever it is. We will then point you to local suppliers, preferably here in Northland, and we'll say there's a little bit of money to co-fund that for you, and that will help you. So that's what they do. Around 10% of activities in the Kaipara region, right? So I'd like it to be more. And it's not through lack of effort. So I guess I'm interested, how might we build that up? And I'll go into that because we're in the seed, we're in Mangawhai, we're around a lot of the North. Some people don't need the help. So maybe it's a case that we need more startups. We need more businesses from Auckland. So again, it's not lack of activity, but there isn't if you look at the percentage of the North, I'd like it to be more. So I think there's a challenge.
Can I just, but in there, what I found tremendously interesting about your presentation is probably in this one today.
Yes, tomorrow, that's the next one.
How many businesses there are?
Yeah.
But the average employee number is 5,
That's from the Department of Stats.
Yeah.
I think that's the next slide. And then just gives you an idea of the sort of businesses we're talking about, and then the types of assistance they're looking for, whether it's business planning, marketing, managing resources, or even just things like lean, how to run a manufacturing company. It comes through things like Callaghan Innovation. So I'm just giving you a snapshot.
Yep.
If I just continue.
If I may, Mr. Chair, Paul, interesting on your list on the assisted business by industry. Given that all our first 40 minutes or so has been largely on tourism, there's nothing on tourism listed down there.
No, there isn't. I don't know the reason for that.
No.
Maybe they don't exist. Cody, do you know?
Around how it's in terms of the industry, food,
Cody. Just says fine.
various sectors, and if we look at the way data through our systems captured, it is reliant upon the New Zealand business number of the business. And if we are thinking about sectors, tourism isn't a specific sector that is attributed through a New Zealand business number. So across the tourism, you'll see like accommodation and food service providers, and they fit in within different subcategories. So rather than it being directly tourism related, it's more the activity that they're providing from a tourism sense. So, yeah, is it a museum? Is it a food service provider? Is it an accommodation provider? So
So that's where it gets caught up. Okay.
The end notes.
Thank you.
So rather than seeing it collated as being strictly tourism, and that's always the trouble when we start looking at, I guess, any economic data, just because it's cut differently based upon, it's called the ANZIC codes. And tourism isn't a code in itself, it's a combination of a range of subsectors, and it's much like the marine manufacturing sector, for example. We call it a sector, but it's not as clear cut as we can't actually say, well, we've got 20 marine manufacturing businesses operating down there because they're made up of like electronic companies or, a range of different subsectors of that.
Okay.
Yep, okay.
A question there from councillor Naya.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick query. We are talking all those businesses being assisted. And I couldn't see the last line in the presentation in terms of how much money, but is it all to do with that $5,000 up to business on training and all those, which is done by business mentor people? Or is there a significant investment or a significant business you can pick up, which we can be proud of? Can you name one or two businesses which are going, then we can say we did that? Paul?
Some of them are confidential. I've got 3 examples up there, but we haven't named them. But I can check if we can name them and then come back to you.
Thanks, Paul.
That'll be great. I think it's a good publicity for you, Paul, if you name them. Thank you.
I agree, Nash. Yeah, it's just how we careful with the business confidentialities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I agree with you. So if we move back to this, I'm just conscious of time, because I've quite a bit to go through. So this is a team. DT, Peru, Andrew Tenston Callahan, doing the R&D stuff. Debus Tiharunga, and we've got Whareki over here. So it's, as I was saying to the Merrill Forum, it's a partnership across the north. So we've basically got 5 people out in companies across the north. And these are the sorts of programs you've probably heard of the PIC, which is a startup competition. So we own that competition. That's for all of Northland businesses. And again, we partner to get that, and we have someone contracted in to do it, and we get sponsorship and that stuff. So that's focusing on startups. So how do we get more companies starting up? Regional Business Partnership, well, that's an MB funded program across all of New Zealand. So Northland has been running that for many years. The orchard you know about, so just bear in mind that we're a small business as well. We run the orchard, we pay rent, we lease it out. If we don't make a profit, we close down that orchard. So, we know what it's like as well. And that's a service we're providing to all the small businesses across the north, and then innovation you know about. So here, actually, I've got some examples on the screen without naming them. So at the moment, we've got a number of companies looking at Save the Northland Festival, including a winery. And we'll talk about Save the Northland in a minute. So that's our big, Wellington on a plate, but for Northland, coming up in October. The team is working with a Mangawhai company at the moment on cleaning range using waste from olive oil extraction. Working with a Dargaville company at the moment in the motor industry.
The manufacturing already in the motor industry?
They're using their existing manufacturing expertise to apply it to the motor industry. We're in a public forum here, so I can't really say anything, but
I'm not asking.
happy to take that offline. And an early stage business, just in terms of market ecosystems. Again, I'm literally not naming companies, but I'm just giving you a flavour, just to show you what's happening in Kaipara. All right, this project here, this is what I mentioned in the Merrill Forum today. So the resilience project, that was a program we were able to run through about $1 million we got from MB last year. After the cyclone, we went down and said, okay, what can we get for the north? And about half of that went on tourism promotion, which I'll talk about next. And half of it's on this resilience project. So we did a survey across Northland companies to identify what's your resilience level if there's another major event, a weather event. What are the gaps in your skills and your capabilities that'll make sure that you're robust enough that you're not going to go under, right? So we want people to keep trading, paying their taxes, paying their rates. It's cheaper to keep them going and close them down and try and get people to start up again. So we managed to get some support from central government to do this, and we've been running a major training capability program for the last few months, which finishes at the end of September. We do it with partners. So we partnered with North Chamber, with Whānaki, Te Hiku, all to deliver through local companies various training and capability programs. So we've delivered 70 workshops across Northland, right, and connections. We've had about 1,600 participants come through those workshops, some one-on-one and some, you know, one-to-many, 1 to 20, 1 to 30. And we subsidised that by 80%, all that program through that government money. And we didn't subsidise it 100% because we thought, well, if the company's not prepared to put some money on the table, even if it's $20 or $30, then they're not serious. They're not going to implement it. And that's gone down quite well. So again, no cost to ratepayers, any of this. And here's just a couple of examples I put up. I mean, there's many programs we've run. This is one based around farmers. This is one in Dargaville, just around progression and succession farmers. Here's another one that's been really popular for tradies, right? Again, you know, how do you get more robust in your own business and strategies for tradies? So, you know, the value of that was about $850 for running this, and it cost them $100 to do it.
And what's the uptake have you had with that tradies?
I don't have the number for that specific program, but overall, the program's got about a 80% uptake on average across the whole program. So it's been pretty good.
Through the chair, if I may ask, Paul, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Actually, I really appreciate the work you did for the resilience and got all this money for flooding. And I guess Shane Jones is giving more money on that basis for climate resilience. But my question is more to, I think Councillor Howard also pointed out in the previous presentation in terms of duplicity of work around the same constituents. So my concern is all these trainings which we are doing through Northland Inc. are concurrently being done by the chambers, like Chamber of Commerce in Whangarei. They were also poaching seed for the similar thing. And the businesses, the small businesses that which we are dealing with have no time for these training. And this money just gets wasted. So I'm very concerned if that's the case happening on these projects. That will be a concern for me because it's not adding any value.
So what was your question, Councillor Naya?
Can you comment on this, that is it happening in the training sphere, as I presume?
So are you asking, is there duplication in this work?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
So no, they're not, Ash. If we use the Chamber as an example, Chamber is part of this program and we paid the Chamber. So using the government money, paid the Chamber to run programs that they have that fitted within the resilience program. So we didn't create extra programs that would duplicate that. We lifted and shifted. And we paid them to do that. But also remember, there's lots of providers out in Northland doing different things and lots of small companies. So it was a case of looking at the Chamber and going, what can you offer that will fit this program and we'll pay you to deliver it? And then what can someone else offer that complements that, that will also enable us to put some money into small businesses around the place? So does that answer that?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What we'll do now is we've got 7 minutes left, so we'll just let Paul get through the rest of his presentation. If there are any other questions, you can ask them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just move on. So that's why it was a partnership. Now I'm going to move on to the other part of the resilience project, which was the tourism part of it, destination. I think we all were involved in the Brinduvans. So a little bit of background. So we were running a Northland Time campaign, which kicked off last year. And that was our autumn campaign, and we planned that as part of our strategy. And then when we got the money from MB, we combined that, and we also got some NZTA money, which you'd be well aware of, and we combined that as well, which actually gave us some mass. So with that, we migrated the Northland Time campaign into the campaign that was around the Brindlewan Hills. And here's just some examples. And Cody and I were talking in the car on the way up, going, It's interesting, the amount of work we do for Northland outside of Northland, you can't see, because the target market is not inside Northland.
Yeah.
Right? And so often we're asked, well, what do you guys do? And I think part of that is us being better communicators internally inside Northland and saying, outside of Northland, this is what we're doing to actually drive people into Northland. And so that's why I put these up. These are billboards in Auckland, in the middle of the street, actually promoting Northland. And part of that was, getting people to come up around the Brinduans and spend their money. Just reminder, Northland is open for business. Sorry, I haven't got back to you on course 3. Northland's Road open for Easter and so on. So just giving you a flavour, and also international marketing. We've got Sarah who hops on a plane with Tourism New Zealand, goes to Sydney, goes to Europe, goes to America, and works with the trade. So these are the wholesale operators that send busloads of people through. So it's really important to be connected with the wholesale trade. So we do that because Tourism New Zealand will use our images, but they won't promote North per se or South, right? They'll just do generic. We want people to go to Auckland and come north instead of just going to Rotorua, Queenstown and out. Then we have to work on it. And to do that, we have to work on the wholesale operators, get them to come here. So that's just giving you a bit of flavour for what we're doing there. And then this is specific around the TVNZ work we did. So this is a screen graph of TVNZ breakfast. Again, just reminding people about the 2 different ways into Northland. And this is the West Coast. So we were pushing that on TVNZ, make sure people come up this way, as well as going through Manawhai and up that way, just to try and get that balance. We were pushing the Northland Field Days at the time, so that was part of the integration to get people up here. We had operators part of the Northland Prize giveaways, so the Kauri Museum, Wild Forest Retreat, they're all part of the package. And then, as the mayor will know, we finished up with the internal Northland Touristy tour with More FM, with coffee and top of the Brinduans. I think you were interviewed, Craig. So needless, that was the end of that. And the reason we did that was an internal marketing campaign within Northland. And the idea around that was More FM went to a whole lot of towns, broadcast from there, promoted Northland, trying to get people to move around and spend money across Northland. But we were also trying to be more uplifting, create a positive message for people. And that went down really, really well, because that was actually within Northland, which is, again, we're normally outside for tourism work. And then just in terms of normal BAU, that tourism space, the RTO part of the business, just doing coffee catch-ups all around the north, so we made sure we were well connected, over in Dargaville and Manawhai. This one here is important. I'll talk about that in a minute, Save Northland. I was over at the Kauri Museum, their New Vision, their public session. And the Kauri Museum is part of our international marketing group. So we have a small marketing group of eight or nine operators who actually fund us to send Sarah overseas. So again, it's not ratepayers' money. There's a group of operators who the international markets are really important to them. But collectively, they put some money in the pot. And then we agree with them how we use that money to promote their particular businesses and Northland. And that enables us to pay for Sarah to get on a plane and go overseas. So that's why that. There you go. Favourite one, tourism, golf. We're well into that with you.
Yep, it's slow, but it's happening.
It's happening, and then we put $5,000 seed funding right at the beginning of that to get that going. And the events fund, the new events fund is coming out. So we've supported the application through the MB and the Manawhai Lions. They've got some money for Food and Wine Festival next year. Okay. Moving along. I won't get too much into the stats. I can give you these slides, by the way, if you want.
Yeah, we've got the slides, thanks.
But your slide, that's true. You've got the slides. This is interesting. Domestic spending in the visitor nights has been increasing over the last few months in Kaipara, not decreasing. So that's very interesting. I wonder if the reason for that is just because of the economy. People have been spending less going overseas for their holidays and just spending more money locally. It's cheaper. So I'm just wondering if that's the reason for that. So we get the stats, we don't always get the rationale behind it. So I'm interested in your views on that. And then some stats down here on tourism. 13% of New Zealanders who travelled domestically in the last year visited Northland. 56% of Northland's domestic visitors are male. 63% of visitors come from Auckland. Only 9% come from the South Island. For Australia, 21% of Australians who travel to New Zealand visit Northland. I mean, most of our visitor origin destinations tends to be Australia, UK, North America. We're not big on that from the Asian market, which is really interesting. Little vignettes of what we're doing with the marketing. There's the breakfast shows, there's some sneaks, screen grabs. There's one that says Northland Field Days are open. So we're pushing that hard on social media.
Make a suggestion.
Yes.
How about you get a photograph of the field days, not some other field days?
Yeah.
For promotion.
Yeah, totally.
Because idiots see through that, they can see that it's not Northland Field Days.
Yeah. Not happy with that. This one here is really important. So again, this is quite a big effort we're putting into to try and create, like I said, like a Wellington on a plate, but for all of Northland. And there's operators in the Kaipara that are going to be involved in this. So it's getting, it's coming together nicely at the moment. We've got a couple of people that we've actually contracted to do that. So if this is successful, we want to be doing this every year and driving people up here into the north. And again, it's going to be here, it's going to be Dargaville, and it's going to be right up to Kaitaia.
Good.
So there's something for everybody. And that's using local produce, local wines, local fruit, local vegetables to create amazing dishes. And we're going to be pushing it really, really hard. And I think the last one I've got ready to talk about very quickly is the Regional Infrastructure Fund. And then we can take questions. So I think most of us know the background on this, but you've got the slides. So you've got to show alignment with the region's investment priorities. And this is what Kānoa have actually stated. These are Kānoa's views, and they've taken it from our economic plans, taken it from the work that they know is going on in the region. So that's what they're looking for as their priority areas. Again, we talked about, Amanda was talking about loans and equity versus grants. So if I just go to investment, probably required. Is that good? Okay, there we go. I won't get through this in detail, but I think what I'll just say is from our conversations with Kānoa, we're very interested in funding hard infrastructure. Right? That's the message we're getting, hard infrastructure. Something where there's an asset and something where they can actually, they've got some security in terms of equity or a loan over. That's not to say they may not have exceptions. We have heard that too, there may be exceptions. And if I go here, this is the one, here we go. There is a grants area, but it may be packaged up with loan or equity on the project. Equally, there may be a small grant. They're not being 100% clear yet on the exact criteria in terms of case-by-case examples. Right, so we've developed that list with the councils, which is the council list, and we have a private sector list. We also know there's some just going straight in and having a conversation with Kānoa. I think we know about most of them, but there'll be some that we don't know about. What we are talking to Kānoa about is closing the loop. So when they have assessments come in, we're encouraging them to come back to us and have a conversation around how does it actually make a good impact for the whole north, or how does it make a really good economic impact for the area. So we can see some sort of consistency, and that's what we want with Kānoa, is consistency in these projects. I'll go back to my last one. So really, I think the challenge with things like cycleways is I totally support what Amanda was saying, so just to be very clear on that. Whether Kānoa will see that as fitting those criteria, given they're saying hard infrastructure. I think probably is the way it's positioned. So if it's packaged, and again, this is my interpretation, if it's packaged up as a infrastructure in terms of trail, if you like, trail being infrastructure, as opposed to a plan, we could probably have a conversation with Kānoa. So I think it's really important how we present it and how we're aligned, and then how it fits into that vision for the north. And because it's like she said, it's a big circle with different points on it, there's probably a conversation to be had here. Now, whether they go, and she's quite right, they've got no revenue stream to pay off loan or equity, so it would have to be grant. So whether it fits into that is really a conversation we need to have with Kānoa. And that's why Cody and I are going to talk to Amanda through it.
Great.
Can you
Just got councillor Naya first, he's waiting there.
Sorry, Ash.
Thank you, Chair. So, no, I'm first of all, a comment. Thank you, Paul, for the work on, especially I was delighted to see the events category getting a boost from funding from Northland Inc. because I guess that's a place which we should poach more, like Mangawhai Lions organizing an event. And you'll be surprised that we didn't have Christmas parade last year because Dargaville Lions didn't have the money. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to approach likes of like Field Days. Thanks for that too, because Field Days did very well with your money. All those charitable, then we keep the hard work to the charitable organization, but we fund them and make things happen. And it's a very cheap way to make things happen. So that's thank you for that. And in terms of question, all I can say is if we can look at and maybe you have better idea about utilizing that funding from Regional Infrastructure Fund without duplication and go for it. That'll be awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Chair, can I comment?
Yeah, did you want to ask something?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paul, sorry, I should know this, but can you just update me on just illuminate me on what Kānoa is? You know, what does that stand for?
Yes, so Kānoa is a division of MB, Ministry of Business, Innovation and Enterprise.
Yeah.
I always mix them up, they keep changing their names. And they're the ones that have been tasked with managing the Regional Infrastructure Fund.
Regional Economic Development Investment Unit.
Yeah, so all the applications for that money, which changes money, they go into them, and they'll be making the assessment and the criteria under their levels, and then putting up the recommendations to ministers.
And they're based in Wellington.
They're Wellington based. Oh, there's two people up here, and Amanda mentioned one of them, Joe. So Joe and Kowhai are the two up here in Northland that are their representatives.
Okay.
And we, Cody in particular, and Vaughan are working very closely with them.
Councillor Lambeth.
Did you have input into that list of the rankings?
Yes, we facilitated the whole list with the full council.
How can we get that Dargaville airfield up there higher? It's the cheapest and it's the one ready to go. It fully fits the criteria of what they're wanting. There's no ifs or buts about it. Why is it so low, being so cheap and so ready to go?
So that was a conversation at JRED and with the officials around that. So it was a group conversation, if you like.
Because realistically, none of these projects are going to hit before the next election, are they? We're not going to see any of them.
There's a couple that are what would be previously called shovel ready across the north, ready to go.
And that those were besides there.
I can't comment on the list. I comment on the council list. I can't comment on the private sector list. Because again, what JRED did was it endorsed the council list, going, these are council approved projects for the whole north. And it noted the private sector list saying, okay, these are the private sector ones. It's not council's business to endorse or approve a private sector list. we're putting them together because we're trying to see, is it actually move the dial for employment in the north? And then it's up to Kānoa to decide, does it fit their criteria?
Thank you. I mean, and I guess there's a bit of context around it, and that you had 3 and now you've got 4 councils all putting up their lists, and you have to refine it in some way and get agreement. And if everybody wants an airport, then you can't have every airport at the top of the list.
Oh, yeah, but realistically, none are going to be ready to go for the new planes except for ours. And that's the reality. We'll be cut off from the rest of New Zealand. Because we're the only one who can take the new Air New Zealand planes.
I think that's another conversation that can be had about how that's promoted, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the other thing to say there is that what a lot of people don't realise is that the ministers themselves wanted our regional infrastructure fund projects put together through Northern Link. So Northern Link are representing all the councils there. So, we will put out our lists in, and then obviously we have to have priorities. So it doesn't mean to say that within the next 3 years we can't make the airport happen.
And it is on the list, which is
It's on the list, which was
an advantage.
It's not actually.
There's, if I can, Chair,
Go ahead.
there's nothing stopping Dargaville Airport, whoever is going to write a business case, putting it into Kānoa. And probably the second thing is, one of the conversations we had at JRED a while ago is if Northland Inc. could start thinking about developing a regional airport strategy of Northland. Because we do have 4 regions, or 3 regions in a wide region, all quite keen on their own airports, for good reason. But we don't have an overall strategy. And so one of the things we will look to do, subject to being able to do it, probably through the growth fund, is actually doing a regional airport strategy.
Wonderful. Hey, thank you very much, Paul. Much appreciated. And what we'll do now is we will have a break for 10 minutes and grab a cup of coffee, whatever you want to do. Everybody will be back here at 11:22. Thank you. Everybody, welcome to the for our illustrious economic development lead, Paul Thompson. Paul, it's all yours. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, and welcome to everybody. My name is Paul Thompson. Just for people who don't know me, I'm the economic development lead for Kaipara District Council, and I'd like to give you a briefing on where I'm up to, what I've been doing, and where I'm going. So, bit of deja vu. The slides haven't changed a lot from last time, but the context and content has. So, with stakeholder engagement, I've been liaising with a whole range of people, especially since I've developed the economic development strategy. So, for instance, I'll start with my day yesterday. Although I'm part-time, I will be putting a 5-day week in this week, just as a matter of need. So yesterday I spent the day in Dargaville. And why did I spend the day in Dargaville? We've engaged with Dargaville very closely over the last few weeks. In particular, Councillor Howard and I went and did a tiki tour around and visited a lot of people and visited a lot of problems around there. We heard from a lot of people around what some of the issues are in Dargaville. But more importantly, I think we went to a networking event in the evening run by the Dargaville Community Board. And there seemed to be a lot of negativity from the business people. And so we thought we'd share the love and try and show our interest in Dargaville and make sure that we are dealing as much in the west as we are in the east. So with that in mind, I went to Dargaville yesterday and I actually gave 50 business cards yesterday. I spoke to as many businesses as I possibly could and gauge their feelings on where they're at, what the economy is like for them. And it was quite dire, actually. But they were encouraged because they hadn't been communicated with by council previously. And so I gave them a business card, and recently I've just uploaded a page on the Kaipara District Council website, which is an economic development page that explains what we're doing, what I'm doing in particular, my contact details. And in there is the link to the economic development strategy, which shows some of the underlying things that we're doing to try and stimulate the economy. And they certainly see themselves as a poor relation compared to Magnify, and there's probably good reason for that. But we certainly showed them the love yesterday, and they were very appreciative of that. So that was my day yesterday, and then in the evening I went and presented at Northern Wairoa Golf Club. There's a couple of things to that. One, obviously, with the Northland golfing strategy, and that's key, and they're a key paid-up member of that strategy. And they were also interested to hear of what we're doing from a business perspective as well.
Paul, can I just ask you?
Yeah, sure.
So if someone goes to the Kaipara District Council webpage,
yes,
is there any big red flashing lights that say economic development that would help?
Quite literally, last Friday the page was uploaded just for me to look at, so it hasn't been.
It hasn't gone live yet. Okay.
Yeah, it's live. You can see it now, but we're not actually promoting it at the moment because it was waiting for my approval, and it's a bit text heavy, so we're probably going to cull the text in that and make it a bit more of a readable document.
And so on the council's homepage, will there be a box or an icon that will lead?
I've not had that conversation, but I would like to promote it as much as we can to get that out there.
Those businesses that you spoke to, they mainly retail, or were they?
I quite literally went from Countdown, I went to the BP station, and I went to every single one, to cafes, to accountants, through to real estate agents, PGG Wrightson. I spoke to John Dudder there yesterday, and I spoke to everybody. I went into every single shop. I just had that conversation about how is business, and this is what we're doing. And now you've got a piece of communication now to talk to council through me, and I'm interested in what you're doing. I was telling them some of the stuff that we're doing in Magnify, and how we can help with me having one foot in business and one foot in council, how I can mitigate some of the issues they might have through resource consent, for instance. So I highlighted the fact that we're trying to get the medical centre up and running here, and there's a slight issue in council which we're trying to address, but we are actually dealing with it. which is, you know, because a lot of people actually said to me, whenever we're phoned the council, I don't get an answer, which I found really difficult to comprehend, but that's what they were saying to me. So you've got to listen to that and hear what they said.
Through the chair, if I may ask, when you came yesterday,
Yes.
Councillor Howard and Paul, did you communicate it to Gordon or myself? Because we are
No.
local, we could have added some value to you.
No, it was just me yesterday.
It was just you.
Yes, it was just me yesterday. Councillor Howard and I came when the Dargaville District Community Board meeting was in the evening, which was a few weeks ago now.
The 5th of
Yeah,
August.
I was at that meeting too.
Yeah, that's right. That's the only day that Councillor Howard and I
Well,
went.
there were only 2 people there. So all I'm trying to say is better connect you. I mean, there's no point going there and talking to shopkeepers. I don't think they will give you the strategy.
Sorry, Councillor Nair, I'll just ask you to manage your tone with the council staff, please. You're being very accusatory.
No, not accusatory. I'm suggesting.
I'll just ask you to be quiet, please. You are being quite accusatory, and I'm going to ask you to manage your tone.
I would like to make some
I
suggestions.
would like you to stop speaking when I'm chairing the meeting and just listen. I'm telling you, your tone needs to be managed with the council staff. Paul Thompson has come across there. He is the economic development lead. It is up to him how he conducts himself when he goes.
No, I disagree.
He does not have to take you along.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I hear what you say, Councillor Nair, and I appreciate that. But yesterday was the result of the meeting you were at, and there was quite a negative feel around the room. And I said, look, I'll come and talk to every business in the Dargaville CBD, and that's what I did.
Yep.
And that was well received in particular. And I gave them a glimmer of light by saying, look, we are doing lots of different things within this region, and it's not all focused on Mangawhai, it's Dargaville as well. And I was up there week before last talking to Nomai Marae, the Maori elder there, about their development. So I've been concentrating my efforts up there quite a lot, and I'll continue to do that. And insofar as I think the Mayor and I are going to a meeting on Friday at the Lighthouse, so I'm going to spend another day in Dargaville and finish off with the people that I didn't get to speak to. And so that there'll be a positive feedback from that through council, I would hope.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, so the next thing is obviously the economic development strategy. That's going before council tomorrow, hopefully for adoption. That's been a really useful document for me, and it will be a useful document for council going forward. Just in putting that into context, to make sure that all the actions that I put in that document, and with the help of Northland Inc, all the actions that are in there highlighted high, medium and low. There's an advisory board which I'm developing. Now I've got 5 people who are a broad cross section of people across the community on both East and West Coast. Brethren, iwi, business people, male, female, from left and right. And hopefully that will guide me. And they're no nonsense people. I think you'll enjoy the people that are going to be on this advisory board. They're no nonsense people. They will drive me and hold me to account, which is what we need. And so there's no hiding behind nice little meetings at Talkfest. They're not going to be a Talkfest. It's going to be a real direct advisory board process. The investment tourism website, we've had the branding done for that now. We have consulted with quite a few people on that website. The next stage for that is to put up some wireframes and some content into that website. I haven't got a date for when that will be completed, but that will be done, and that will be up hopefully for launching at the end of this year is my nearest sort of time I can put onto that. Networking is really important. I continue to network right across the region, and I find that really enlightening. So, for instance, when we networked with Brethren not so long back, and we had New Zealand Trade and Enterprise come to that meeting, and Mayor, you'll have seen an email from Lindsay Jobbin yesterday. So there's an opportunity that's developed directly as a result of that networking. And hopefully that will be something that we can attend and get that over the line. Creating a job dashboard, a reporting dashboard for this meeting. I've highlighted the standard economic development measures that I'm going to put into that dashboard. So at this next meeting of the Economic Development Committee, that dashboard will be ready, and it'll highlight things like population growth, housing values and ownership, GDP, consumer spending, employment, unemployment, number of businesses trading, and so on and so forth. So that'll be a clear sort of visual of what's going on, rather than you having to read data which comes through Infometrics. I'll put it into a dashboard, which will be part of my reporting for the next time we meet. Creating a database, that's been ongoing. We don't have a CRM system within council, so it's just an Excel spreadsheet at the moment, but that's there. So should I go under a bus tomorrow, at least you know who I've been talking to. The single point of strategy, contact strategy, that's working well, where any business inquiry that comes into council comes across my desk, and that works well, and that's been happening. I'm developing a repository of information so that when we do get an inquiry, so I had an investor inquiry a couple of weeks back, and they were after some information on the district, and they were perplexed. They came from China, and they were perplexed by the complexity of Northland and its councils, how they all interact together and how it works, and how Northland Inc fits in with that whole thing. So I explained that to them, and that was part of that repository of information. Delivery of a business startup program, that kind of flies in the face of really of what Northland Inc are doing. You're already in that space, and we're not, but I've just developed a business startup program that I can deliver, but that would probably not be the best use of my time. It's probably better going to something that Northland Inc are doing. And forming of the advisory panel. And that's really sort of my summation of where I'm at the moment. Have you got any questions?
Councillor Lambeth?
Yeah, I've probably got labelled there a little bit with Councillor Mayers. I've got no problem with you coming to the table.
Yeah.
Because all we're doing is we're trying to find the truth.
Yes, and I found out the truth yesterday. Yeah.
And I've got no problems with them. Fill your boots as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So just so yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Lambeth. Councillor Naya.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I have problems, I need to say. We want to make this rule work very well. So my concern is very much so that we don't end up with making too much advisory panels and strategy and waste ratepayers' money on these things, whether without achieving even a single thing in the whole term. That won't be very helpful to me. So I'm looking for a collaborative relationship where the economic development works around with the councillors. So know what are there could have been a meeting with a big business to find out what are the troubles and how they can help. So it's not something on the website. So my suggestion is to do it on the ground and not on the high level with a lot of budget. We don't have money to spend on advisory panels and budgets and whatnot. I'm very blunt in it. And if the chair likes it or not like it, I think we have to deliver. It's important that we pay for every cent we collect. Thank you.
I would say that there's been quite a constructive process to actually deliver, and we're working through that process. If you think, if you consider where we started from, which was a blank sheet of paper, and we've delivered so far, and part of the advisory group is that was part of my job description, so that's what I'm just following through.
Through Mr. Chair, if I could, so thanks Councillor Naya for your feedback. You can't look at individual aspects of work. You've got to look at it as a big picture piece of work here. Excuse me. And so there are different work streams that Paul's involved with. And obviously you see the strategy that's on the council agenda tomorrow. That was a definite requirement, a definite need from this committee and the council, and I think there's some excellent work there. Councillor Nair, you talk about on the ground, walking, you know, understanding the community. That's exactly what Paul was doing in Dargaville. And I definitely support that work, and support him going and talking to our businesses, and that's what we want to hear. So you can't just look at each individual thing in its isolation. You need to look at the big picture here of economic development and how it can be quite a big beast as well. I think Paul's done a good job of narrowing down the work streams and reporting those work streams to you with your support, and the activities and actions within those work streams. And we're going to support that moving forward as well. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
No,
you.
Thank
Maris?
you. If I can comment on Mr. Maris' point, I think we have a job to do, and the very fact that we have Economic Development Committee doesn't mean anything if not even a single meeting of that committee has been held in Dargaville. So I'm very disappointed. And then you have everyone or everything happening in Mangawhai. And I keep saying that we have to work for the district. So, I mean, there's no way somebody comes in and we don't even know what we are doing. It's just a paper document. So that's my comment on it. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morris.
Sorry, just Paul Linton, you had some comment to make?
Yes, if I just if I can on a different topic.
Sure, go ahead.
Just on the startup, just a heads up, we'll work with you on this. We're just in the process of developing a new startup strategy for Northland.
Right.
Which will incorporate the PIC, and we're also working with someone who's trying to set up like a private sector startup. We're just going to make sure there's not duplication.
Yeah, that's my concern, Paul.
And so we'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, fine. Great, thank you.
What you've got up there is great.
Yeah.
Just if we integrate it.
Yeah, no.
And leverage resources.
That's become more and more apparent to me as we're going through. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, once again, I might be out of court here, but you know, Councillor Nair has raised this diabolical conversation of it all happening in Mangawhai. And I just think we've got to stop this. And I'll give you an example, Councillor Nair. It's not all happening over here. And myself, initially, I responded to a request by one of your ratepayers over there that was made to all councillors to come over and view some issues that had been identified and to look at some opportunities for development. And I invited Paul to come along with me when I finally made a date. Now, it was open to everybody. There was no secrets about that. We did it. We had a fantastically productive day, and actually there's been some fantastically productive outcomes come out of it. So can we just cut the rhetoric about it all happening in Mangawhai, please, for once and for all, because it isn't. We are doing it across the district.
So, sorry, if I may, all I'm suggesting is this Economic Development Committee, the very basis of it is, it has been for last 2 years in Mangawhai. Doesn't make sense. You have to be, all of the meetings happen once a month or once a alternate way in the west and the east. It's not about east and west. It's just that how much commitment we have on this committee. And I, to be honest, I find it very, very much missing. So you're coming to Councillor Howard to Dargaville once to meet a ratepayer. I met 3-4 times ratepayers of Mangawhai. That doesn't make a difference. We are all working for Kaipara. I'm not denying that. All I'm saying, we haven't shown that thing to the ratepayers. Every time I go to Dargaville, they talk about everything happening in Mangawhai, which is a fact. So what do I do? Thank you.
I think a lot of that's been generated by your own rhetoric over the last 2 years, Ash, and it's becoming offensive, and you need to stop it. We are trying to represent through participatory democracy our whole district. I've got 53
I'm looking for
1,000 kilometres on my car, and I tell you what, 2/3 of it would be driving to Dargaville to try and do my best for the people of Dargaville. So it's unhealthy, and it needs to stop, Ash.
No, all I'm trying to say, Mr. Mayor and the chair, is that we have to show the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Where are those numbers? How many days C. Morris is sitting in Dargaville? How many times you have spent? All those things. Yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Thank you.
Councillor Lambeth.
So on your walk down the street there, did you see the new construction firm that had started up on the corner?
Yes, I did.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yes.
A housing company which has started up in Dargaville in the times when it is the worst possible time in the construction industry.
Aspen?
Yeah, Aspen.
I went into them yesterday. I spoke to them yesterday.
Yeah, so, you know, so those are the sort of positive things. I'm glad you called in and saw them.
Yeah, I did.
So they're building a showroom there in the main street, and so that is something really, really positive. Yeah. Right.
No, they were very pleased to see me, actually. Very pleased. There's a bald-headed guy in there. I can't remember his name.
Carol and Neil.
Yeah, Neil. Yeah.
Wonderful. Hey, look, I just want to say a few words to wrap up here. And what I'd firstly like to say is I really want to thank both of our Pauls, Paul Thompson and Paul Linton, who are doing great work for our district at different levels. We've got our focus in the Kaipara with Paul Thompson, and we've got our overarching view for Northland, including the Kaipara with Paul Linton. And what I've seen today is an extraordinary amount of hard work and strategy and innovation going on to actually achieve what we do want to achieve here, make this a really great, vibrant place. And in the presentation that we're looking at the moment from Paul Thompson, Paul is working extremely hard. He's spread very thin, very limited resource, and not even a full-time position, achieving enormous things across all sorts of platforms. He's got Kaipara-focused economic development website being developed. He's out on the street, on the beat, going and talking to all our business leaders across the whole district, I might add, and possibly even more focused where it's more needed. And, you know, we've got these initiatives that was really where some of our Economic Development Committee ideas started, is going out and interacting with businesses that are having consenting issues and helping them sort it out, being a conduit between the businesses and our consenting teams to find those issues and make stuff happen. And we're seeing specific examples of that happening now. And now I don't deny anyone, we want to have robust discussion around the table here, and we welcome that and encourage it. All I'm talking about is we all need to work together and look after each other and manage the way that we conduct ourselves and manage our tone so that we can all work well together. It's not on us and them. We're all in this together, trying to get stuff done across the entire district. And if we can move forward on that basis, I'd be very happy. So if there are any other questions or comments to be made in wrapping up here, take them now. Thank you, Mayor Jepson.
Yeah, look, just one comment I'd like to make, because it's always the vulnerability of positions that Paul and Northland Inc have and our Economic Development Officer will have, is how do you measure their success, you know? You can always be criticised because, you know, how many numbers of people are coming to the district to spend their money that's directly associated with the work you do? It's hard to measure. So the way I measure it is to actually see what you're out there doing, and the opportunities we have to hook into what you're doing is up to us, actually. If you're providing the platform, it's up to myself, my elected members and my ratepayers, in fact, to take advantage of the opportunities they have to participate in progressing their businesses and ideas and whatever they want to do in the district. So just want to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one thing, unfortunately, the slip in the Brand Irwins is going to create a COVID bubble for the Kaipara because it boosted everything through the Kaipara. So that's going to taunt your figures as well. But so what can you do with that? We're not going to pay for another slip, by the way. No. But it was mighty good for Dargaville, that slip.
Did we pay for the last one?
Okay. So are you done, Paul?
I'm finished now, thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Do you have anything else to add, Paul Linton? Conclusion? Okay, over to you, Mr. Maris, to take us forward.
Thank you, Mr Chair. So obviously the next steps tomorrow is hopefully the adoption of the strategy, which I think is quite a monumental step for us and for Paul in this space. Paul's going to continue on his work. We'll seek a bit more alignment with Northland Inc. So I do want to thank Paul and Cody for coming down today. I think it's really important we have a strong, robust relationship there, and I think we have. And of course, the work program that Paul's sort of presented will just continue on with that work as well.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you very much for your attendance, everybody. We'll,
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul Linton,
thank you.
for coming all the way.
Thank you.
Okay.